Bitcoin on the daily time frame. It is the same exact argument that we've been making. Oh my God, you're all tired of it. I know. I'm sorry. I love you. Um, has anything changed? Right? And the two words, nothing changed. Those have been like my slogan for the past 2 months. Wait, what's today? The 17th, right? Yeah, so I mean, the past 2 months. So I can say it's been 2 months we've been saying this, and I won't sound like an idiot. It literally has been 2 months the entire time. All we've said is, hey, this time is different. And since then, nothing changed, nothing changed, nothing changed, nothing changed, nothing changed, right? You're all tired of it. I'm fully aware. But that's the argument I'm going to keep rolling with until it stops working, right? So, in order for that argument to stop working, we need our lower time frames to show us some strength and then carry through with that strength into a test of our higher time frame trend, right? So it'll be like reclaiming the hourly 200s here. We continue with that strength into the higher time frame trend. The higher time frame trend to me is just simply the 4-hour 200s, along with, I'm going to add in, right, along with whatever demand zone or resistance zone, sorry, is kind of residing along near them, right? So for this instance, we have 47K. So if we reclaim the 4-hour 200s, I probably want to see price continue trending above 47K as well. And in this scenario, it was 53K. Right, once we can do something that looks like this, then that's when we'll come in and say, hey, this time's very different. And this time around, it was the 59K weekly demand zone, right? So we said if we can reclaim the 4-hour 200s along with that demand zone, then this time's probably different, right? So all we need, and I say all we need as if it's just like something easy to do, right? All we need is our lower time frames to show us some strength into a bigger relief bounce, just like this one, right? And then reclaim that region as well. And that's when all of a sudden, the past 2 months, the same argument that we've been making for the past 2 months is now irrelevant. We can't continue making the same argument that we have been making for the past 2 months at that point. It's not true. It doesn't hold up after that. Is the music still on? Yeah, it is. Whoops. Sorry. My bad. It's so low that I can't hear it. I only heard it when I stopped to take a breath just now, in between my rambling, right? So that's when we come in, we acknowledge, hey, this time's different. So until that happens, there's not much of a bullish argument to make. On top of that, we're definitely not going to be sitting here making bullish arguments if we can't even show strength on the lower time frame to start with, right? That just simply means every single time frame is telling us downtrend, 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 just like it was for here, just like it was for all of this price action, just like it was for all of this price action, and truthfully, just like it is right now, like right this moment, right? So nothing has changed, and we're not going to be sitting here making bullish arguments if there's no signs of strength at all. There's nothing to acknowledge, there's nothing to base, right? To create the base foundation of a bullish argument off of. The only thing you have as of right now, and as of this price action, and as of September when we tested this exact same region, the only arguments that you have at the moment, and the only argument that you had here, and the only argument that you had here was just simply, hey, 40K is a key level, and we haven't broken down from it yet. That's it. That's all you have. It's not very strong of a bullish argument. Is it justifiable? Sure. 40K is a big level. It's a weekly demand zone. If you're a buyer on Bitcoin, if you are an investor, gimme, gimme, gimme Bitcoin, take my money. 40K is probably a region that you want to do that at. It makes a lot of sense. A lot of other people are probably going to agree with you. But that's not the foundation of an argument. It's just a speck of an argument, right? It is not on, and let's reiterate this now, since we are downtrending across every time frame. The pressure is not on bears to just simply continue doing the exact same thing they have been doing for the past 2 months, right? The pressure is on bulls to force bears out of their very comfy positions, to show bears, hey, you idiot, get out of your short from way higher up. We're sending this thing to new all-time highs, right? Or back to your break even or whatever, or 53K, whatever it may be, right? The pressure is on bulls to make sure that this support level that is supposed to bounce price actually bounces price, and it did. Congratulations, bulls. Support was support. It did its job. Do you want a cookie? What did you accomplish from that support bounce? You reclaimed the hourly trend, right? Or the 4 hour trend, technically. You reclaimed the 4 hour trend. You had your 4 hour bullish market structure for a bit. You had your hourly 200s getting reclaimed. Hey, guess what? You did the exact same thing here. Hey, guess what? You did the exact same thing here. Both times it didn't matter, right? So, congratulations, Bulls. Do you want a cookie for doing the same thing that you managed to do 2 other times in the past 2 months and nothing significant came from it, right? That's nothing to glorify. That's nothing to get overly excited about or celebrate. All you did was the bare minimum. Things you're supposed to do, things that are completely expected to do. You don't get a cookie for that. There's no participation trophies here, right? Show me strength. Show me a reclaim. Show me follow through. Show me a full reclaim. Show me why I need to buy back the position that I sold at 60K when this thing started to go, you know, towards the downside, right? Until you show me why, I'm just going to assume that my comfy position from 60K is only going to get comfier, right? And below 40K, that's when things really get ugly because the next demand zone, what's here, right? What's in this region? I mean, truthfully, there's a lot of volume in this region, so there could be a chance that we find support anywhere in this range. But just simply from a range trader's perspective, what do we know when you re-enter a range from either direction? You probably anticipate the opposite side of that range, right? That is just the basic fundamentals of range trading. Anyone and everyone in this stream right now knows that once you enter a range from one direction, you probably head to the opposite side of the range. That is the bare minimum expectation, right? So, truthfully, below 40K, I'm not interested in Bitcoin until 30K. And that's me being the investor buyer mentality. I love Bitcoin. Give me more. Take my money. I won't be that person until 30K if this 40K weekly demand zone doesn't hold, right? So we truly are from bulls getting the bare minimum. And even from that, we're still not getting anything significant, right? Or any sort of follow through that leads to anything significant. The past couple of days or so, we've been saying, hey, we showed some strength, something we haven't managed to do for the past 2 weeks or whatever. That's pretty significant. We want to acknowledge that. You probably don't want to be the revenge shorter, the denial person or whatever for the short term. And we got this follow through, right? Pretty good, pretty solid. Definitely not what we want to see. We wanted a little bit more, but beggars can't be choosers, right? We're just trading the low term or the short term trend into the higher time frame trend. We did the exact same thing here. Truthfully, this time it worked out very, very well. This time, not really a lot of price action for you to take advantage of. You maybe got 4%, right? And then we chopped sideways before the higher time frame trend took priority. This time around, our low time frame strength leads into a much bigger sort of relief bounce where we actually form a nice uptrend on these lower time frames before the higher time frame takes priority, right? And then we come in here and we say, oh, high time frame took priority. we're downtrending across all time frames again. Nothing to see here. Just keep assuming downside level into downside level, right? Worked out that time too. Same exact idea here, but this time around is a lot more similar to that relief bounce in November than it is this one in December, because we didn't really form any sort of uptrend. We didn't get any sort of sustained relief bounce. We're not getting, you know, the strength didn't follow through. We just kind of impulsed and then saw another impulse, and then this key region that we expect to hold on a back test barely held for a little bit bigger of a relief bounce, and we went sideways for a couple days, and now here we are below that exact same region, just like we were in November, just like we were in December. Guess what? It's January. We're doing the exact same thing here today, right? It's just going to be assumed the exact same thing over and over and over again until it stops working. So right now, right, where the past couple of days we're arguing, hey, we formed a snowball, right? It's not a big argument, but hey, it's something other than downtrend. That's pretty significant. And now we don't even have that argument. Now we can't even say, hey, we're going sideways, we're still above these key levels, maybe this time is different just because we're going sideways rather than downtrending, right? And here today, we're threatening to break that analysis as well. Right? If we continue expanding, these are going to curl over, and in hindsight, this is just the high time frame continuing to do what the high time frame told us it was going to do. We just didn't get that bigger relief bounce into that area that we wanted prior to this happening, right? So that's the expectation. At the moment, that is my simple assumption. I can only assume that that happens. I'm not willing to make bullish arguments, just like I'm not willing to make bullish arguments here, just like I'm not willing to make any bullish arguments for all of this downtrend, just like I'm not willing to make bullish arguments right here, and just like I'm not willing to make any bullish arguments during this downtrend, right? I'm not willing, I'm not willing, I'm not willing. I think at the very most, the most bullish argument you should have right now is just simply, oh, maybe we're just chopping. Maybe we come back on Wednesday's live stream and we say, oh, this move downwards didn't really end up doing much, even though we broke down below our key level, and we're kind of just going sideways, right? Rather than forming a new trend, breaking down, expanding away, high time frame trend, taking priority and crushing our little snowball of a bullish argument, right? So I will just simply assume downtrend, and if I'm given chop, I'll adjust the mindset. And that's where we come in and we form new validations and invalidations. Because at that point, we kind of stop expecting these hourly 200s to be as prevalent as they have been. Right. And at that point, we kind of need to find a new validation and invalidation. If our hourly 200s are rendered relatively useless, whereas they've been pretty key for the past month and a half now, then we need to come in and say, okay, above, let's say like 43.6, that probably means we're bullish, right? That probably means we truly are going to get that bigger relief bounce into those 4 hour 200s and maybe this supply zone, whatever, right? And then maybe if we break down below like 41.8, that means we're bearish, we're probably going back to 40K. And then who knows, maybe 40K doesn't hold this time around, or maybe it does, right? But at the very least, we can assume 40K and the result from this like breakdown of choppy sideways illogical price action. So that's my expectations, and that's how I'm going to look to play this moving forward. I do not see a bullish argument here. At the very most, I see an argument for why this might just continue being, further sideways. And that in itself is not bullish. So there's not really much hope here. You're kind of just clinging to copium, right? So we'll adjust as things play out, but we're going to have assumptions prior to if we ever have to adjust, right? Maybe we never even have to, and maybe we just continue downtrending from here, just like we did past time, make the exact same assumption. and the time before that, and the time before that. You get the idea, right? Trend is the trend. You want to be on the side of the trend, and you want to just adjust if the trend doesn't play out the way you thought it would. So that's how I'm playing Bitcoin. Very different market context to what we're used to. ETH BTC still kind of relief bouncing from this daily demand zone. Maybe this lower high is put in as of now. We'll have to see if our 4-hour market structure is broken or shifted bearishly, right? Hopefully, shifted is like the full confirmation, and broken is like, oh, maybe. We'll see. But if our 4-hour market structure shifted bearishly, then there's not really much to tell us that we're going to continue bouncing from this daily demand zone, right? At that time, it becomes more likely that we've just put in the lower high and we're going to follow through with a lower low, as this daily downtrend is implying that we are going to do at some point, right? So it can be right here, right now. It can be higher than here. All it needs to be is lower than this high. So our job as trend traders, right, and analyzers of trend, is just to simply say, hey, if we're gonna put in a lower high on the daily chart for ETH BTC, where do we do that at? Meaning, if we break above that point, all of a sudden it becomes unlikely that we create a lower high for ETH BTC, and we can kind of just assume another push up into this weekly supply zone again. So let's analyze. What's the ideal region for us to put in a lower high on ETH BTC for the daily chart? I think everyone that watches these streams has a pretty good idea of the region that we're looking for. It's just simply the 4-hour 200s. They're very key. They act as macro bottoms and macro tops. And here we are testing them as of what, yesterday? We tested them as resistance, and we're breaking down from them here today, right? We have so far put in a lower low on our 4-hour market structure. That is a break in the market structure that might imply this is your lower high on the daily. You can assume lower low, because every time frame at the moment is currently downtrending, right? So there's not really much of a bullish argument here. If, right, uh, because our validation and our ideal region to give us a high time frame trend continuation, right? So our ideal entry, if this were, if we're taking longs, is also oftentimes our invalidation. So if this is the ideal entry to someone who's shorting ETH BTC, right, in however they're doing that, breaking above this region probably means the trend has shifted. You're not going to find a lower high on the daily at that point, right? You can just kind of assume a bigger push up into this weekly supply zone. So currently, the expectation is playing out in front of our eyes. It's the ideal region to give us a lower high on the daily. We can kind of just turn our brains off and assume that if we don't have any lower time frame strength arguments and our high time frame key region has been tested and we break down into further weakness for those lower time frames, then maybe the higher time frame has just kind of taken priority, and the higher time frame trend is just going to continue to do what the higher time frame trend has been doing, and that's just simply lower highs and lower lows, right? If instead we reclaim this region, then there's a pretty solid chance that we break the high time frame trend altogether. So that's when ETH BTC starts to interest me. And as of right now, it's, the heaviest coin on the planet, sort of, those sort of jokes. I don't see a relevant bullish argument if we're not above these 4-hour 200s that have been macro tops and macro bottoms since August of 2021, right? There's really no interest for me as long as you're still below those moving averages. If we zoom in a little bit further, you kind of have a little bit of a bullish argument here on these lower time frames still. Just like this bigger relief bounce into a higher time frame trend, just like this bigger relief bounce into a higher time frame trend. You're still holding on to these hourly 200s, right? Maybe desperately. Maybe you're going to chop sideways, kind of like Bitcoin. But as soon as these hourly 200s are lost, there's really, not much to go off of. And we've done this two other times only to continue downtrending. So this by itself is not significant enough to make me think that the macro market environment for ETH, BTC, or for altcoins in general have shifted, right? So 4-hour 200s are the big boy invalidation and validation, and these hourly 200s are the light bulb that goes off in between that white space that might tell you, hey, look to play a shorter term relief bounce. And then the last thing we'll discuss, or wait, did we talk about ETH USD? I don't think we did actually. Oh, we didn't. ETH USD, very similar to Bitcoin, pretty choppy, pretty ugly, losing some lower time frame arguments. Of course, we kind of expected resistance in this region at our 200 daily moving averages, and had we continued this bounce further, this is pretty much where our 4-hour 200s are residing, along with this 3600 daily supply zone that is relevant historically as well as locally. Right? So it has good relevance. We've seen it tested. We've seen reactions based off of it. We have our 4-hour 200s, which also acted as macro tops along with that region. So even if we saw that further bounce, right, from the lower time frame strength that we acknowledged just a few days ago, then we're still not expecting a full shift of the higher time frame trend, right? So the argument that nothing changed is just as relevant for ETH USD as it is for BTC. And if our 4-hour structure breaks down, if we lose lower time frame arguments, right, those hourly 200s, we break down below this daily demand zone, what do we have to cling on to in terms of hope, right, for further upside at that point? We don't really have much. So we'll just assume this is the lower high on the daily. The trend is lower highs and lower lows. We're probably going to get a lower low. We'll just simply assume that doing all of those things, showing those weaknesses on lower time frames, means we're going to see 2870. We're going to see 2620. We're going to see 2380, right? We're just going to keep seeing the next support level lower and lower and lower and lower until something changes. And if we are shown a snowball of strength, we'll adjust in the low time frame. And as long as we're not seeing a full snowman of strength, then we're not going to adjust the high time frame. We'll just keep rolling with this exact same sort of mindset. So let's zoom in. 4-hour 200s are exactly where we thought they would be. Right, pretty key, pretty solid. Definitely want to see them reclaimed. If you're going to be sitting here making calls for 4K ETH, for 4,300 ETH, for 4,700, for new all-time highs, for an ETH BTC flippening, right? Any sort of bullish argument you're going to make becomes a lot more realistic and a lot more probable once you reclaim these 40 or 4-hour 200s along with whatever sort of supply zone they're around at that time. So until you do that, it's just simply nothing has changed. When you zoom in, if you want to get technical, 4-hour market structure wise, this is now in downtrend, right? But kind of similar to Bitcoin, because this is a high, this is a low, this is a lower high, this is a lower low. But kind of similar to Bitcoin, we are still in that realm of we're going to assume it's downtrend because it's quite literally downtrending and we're below our key arguments, right? We're kind of starting to see them shift more towards the downside within this like choppy sideways. So it's the chart is physically telling us down is the trend, high time frame took priority, kind of just assume downside level into downside level. And if we're given something else, then we need to keep that in mind that really there is no trend here. The trend is sideways choppiness, illogical price action. We need to form a new validation and invalidation, right? So at that point, same exact sort of gist will come in. We'll say, hey, maybe once ETH starts to break down below 3,200, then that's when it's truly going to start breaking down. We've determined the higher time frame trend has taken priority, or maybe if we break out above 3,400, then that's when we can expect the bigger relief bounce into that higher time frame trend, and we are bullish in the short term from there, right? But at the moment, there is not a bullish argument here. The best bullish argument that you have is, hey, maybe this is chopping rather than trending, right? Even though it's physically telling us trend, downtrend, whatever, there's always going to be that chance that we just continue to do nothing. So we'll keep that in mind and we'll adjust if that is the path that we take. But for now, we're just going to take the market at face value for what it's telling us. And it's quite obviously telling us down is the trend. You're losing strength, you're losing levels, your market structure is bearish now, all these things, right? So just keep that in mind. That's kind of the playbook that we're going to go off of. And then last thing that we want to talk about is Bitcoin dominance. So Bitcoin dominance, very generalized and even more so, or I should say, even less so, I guess, would be the proper way to think about it, than usual, because dominance is trending downwards. So that makes you think that you can kind of just throw a blind dart at the altcoin market, and rather than BTC, and if Bitcoin bounces, then alts are going to bounce harder, and if Bitcoin, dies, then alts are going to die less. And that's not really what we're seeing. Most altcoins against BTC are kind of still in this like nasty downtrend, and just kind of, you know, this slow bleed, something that looks like my nightmares, right? But Bitcoin dominance itself is downtrending. So at face value, it makes you think you can just throw a blind dart at any random altcoin and you'll be okay. And January of 2021 till about May or June of 2021, that was pretty much the case. And I think even for here too, it was pretty much the case. You could just throw a blind dart at that sort of environment. As of recent, the environment's got a lot more narrow. It's very much targeted towards specific altcoins, and the narrative at the moment is L1 protocols. So things like Atom, One, FTM, Rose USDT is a good one. Let's see, Dusk BTC. I'm not even sure if Dusk is an L1 protocol. I don't even know what Dusk does, but I'm pretty sure it's uptrending into new all-time highs, right? So for the most part, it's a very pinpoint sort of like five, six, maybe seven altcoins that are strong uptrenders that you want to be looking to play off of. And they're kind of sucking a lot of the attention away from the market and a lot of the volume away from the market during this downtrend for dominance, right? So we can say probably the reasoning for dominance going down while most altcoins also go down against Bitcoin is just because the market cap for those few altcoins is increasing at a more significant pace than what the other altcoins are decreasing at. So therefore dominance number go down, and six or seven altcoin BTC numbers go up. So very general, very broad usually, but in this case more specific. If we take a look at support zones, and I say this very hesitantly, this is a dominance chart. You can't trade this. It's not a physical asset. Keep that in mind. So take it with a grain of salt. But this general region has seen reactions pretty much every time it's ever been tested. So, and the region I'm talking about is the one that we're currently at. That general region has been tested, and it always sees reactions pretty much. Um, so if support is support and dominance goes up from here, it makes sense. If dominance breaks and the trend continues to be the trend, then hang on to those strong uptrending altcoins. You're going to want to keep playing them because that wave hasn't crashed just yet, right? At that point. Um, so never fade the strength, always play narratives, and try to do your best to think logarithmically. Hopefully you have some sort of plan in place to where you can do that at a, some sort of reasonable um, occurrence. Like you can do it time and time again and not really break your mindset and not go insane and hopefully benefit you from the long term. So the method that I like to take is, of course, extremely high fib targets and whatever that asset is trending along, right? Whatever it's relevant along, and I'll look at whatever it's relevant along for lower time frames and dictate, okay, this is a warning sign, and then whatever it's relevant along for higher time frames and dictate, okay, I don't even want to own this coin anymore. It's probably not going to continue going up, right? So oftentimes that ends up being hourly 200 moving averages and 4-hour 200 moving averages. Those are my validations and invalidations on low and high time frames, and then the moon boy mentality that accompanies that. And this really only applies to something that's uptrending into new all-time highs, right? Which is every coin that we just mentioned. So if dominance keeps going down from here, it's quite literally, this is like what you would see as an all-time low support zone. So if we break below this, then we likely see new all-time lows for dominance. So you're going to want to continue playing those alts. You're going to want to be able to think logarithmically because, you know, the sky's the limit at that point. So we'll see what happens. If we need to make adjustments, we will. The biggest sort of red flag would be something that looks like this, right? And at that point, we come in and say, oh shit, this time's different. Just like we did, somewhere over here prior to this move downwards. We'll do the exact same thing here. We did the exact same thing prior to that. And we did the exact same thing prior to that somewhere over here. And this one too, right? And meanwhile, these 4-hour 200s were our validation to just kind of riding the wave, riding the trend, whilst everyone else is looking at this dominance chart and saying, oh my God, look at this move. This is so unsustainable. There's no way this can keep going down. Capitulate all your altcoins, sell everything, go back into Bitcoin. It's much safer, blah, 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 blah. And that's what followed. Right? And then they said it here, and then they said it again here, and they said it again here. And meanwhile, we're just riding the trend and printing money, right? So that mentality is too rewarding when it does work for you to not want to adhere to it. And we can say that relevantly too, right? Relevant locally as well. So it's the exact inverse mentality if we do something along these lines. It's too rewarding in the form of not participating in pain, right? In pain, where basically 99%, if not all, altcoins kind of just die against Bitcoin. It's too rewarding in the form of not participating in pain for you to not want to acknowledge it, right? So that's sort of the mentality for the altcoin market. That's been the mentality for quite some time now. And this is the part where I kind of let you guys take over. Shill me your best altcoins or something that you want to see, or a comment that you may have, or tell me how your day's going, whatever. Dusk USDT. Cool. Yeah, so we got a request for this in last live stream, I believe, which is Friday. And I'm almost positive the argument was just price discovery. Bears are dumb. Higher highs, higher lows. Turn my brain off. Assume uptrend into fib targets. And I think I drew this fib out. 11.09 fib got tapped, acted as a macro top. And if I'm Jacob, this is the part where I pull out my Canfield Fibonacci extensions. And I love Jacob, but I'm not Jacob. And the way that I use fibs from here for price discovery targets is just to take the next most relevant high to low, which would actually be this low, it looks like, and work from there. And fibs are magic. You can't tell me otherwise. The 11.09 is also the exact 2.618 for this fib draw. And this fib also got very nicely respected. So I'm just going to continue assuming that it gets very nicely respected from here on. Right. So therefore, my target is, you can maybe say, maybe say the 2.618 is your target once again. If it was, then you're sitting pretty comfortably right now. If it's not, then you're looking for this 3.618. 4.236, 6.85, the same exact mentality that has you bullish on the way up into one of these highs, and wherever the top does get put in is the same mentality that ensures that you are enjoying the price action on the way up into the top. And that's what matters, right? The generational wealth is not made by calling bottoms and tops. It's made in the 80% price action that happens in between the bottom and the top, right? So as long as you catch those bulk of the moves, that's what matters, rather than fantasizing about getting out and selling the exact top, or buying the exact bottom. So in the meantime, we're just going to continue with this high time frame bullish moon boy mentality. Bears are dumb. Higher highs, higher lows. You cannot, I don't care what the wick looks like, you cannot give me a reason why this is a top any more than this could have been a top, any more than these price action candles could have been a top, any more than this was a top, then this ugly wick was a top, then this is a top, this is a top, this is a top. You can keep making that same argument. Eventually, right? If you call doomsday enough, eventually you're going to be right. It's that guard dog that barks at the wind, and then finally somebody breaks in your house and your guard dog starts barking at them, but you don't even want to adhere to your guard dog because they're known for barking at the wind. So it's a useless guard dog, right? You can bark at the wind over and over and over again. Eventually, when someone comes and breaks in your house, you're going to say, "Oh, but I barked. I let you know that somebody was breaking in." What's the point, right? You do not reward that guard dog. You're not going to reward the same people that are calling tops this time around that tried to call tops on the way up into this time around, right? Same exact mentality. So we're just assuming that the bears that have continued to, or have been dumb, are going to continue being dumb, and nothing more, unless you show me why this time is physically different. Can we use the 4-hour 200s? Honestly, I'm going to say no. I don't think they're really all too relevant to current price action. I see two flukes where they didn't really work out, and in between that white spaces of these two flukes, right? So that would be this time and this time. In between the white space, they got tested once. So are they relevant to me? Not really, right? So I think what we had to do for dusk is we had to turn on different moving averages. So let's just go with the 55 EMA, and we'll go with 50 MA. Brown and purple. Gotta love it. That's more like orange. I don't know. My girlfriend says I'm colorblind. All right, so we're using the daily 50s now. This is a lot more respectable of a trend, and it's relevant historically, and it's relevant locally as well, right? So until you break down from the 55 EMA, we'll say, and the 50 MA on the daily, there is not an argument you can give me for why this time is different, right? You cannot tell me why this is going to be a top until something like this happens. But Merc, from current price to our invalidation is negative 40%. I don't want to eat a negative 40% drawdown and then say, oh shit, this time's different, right? What if my target is the 3.618 and we get right there and then pull back and then die and then dust goes to zero for the rest of forever, and my take profit never hits, and my invalidation is negative 50% away from where I could have sold, right? The top. I don't want to do that. Well, of course, I don't either, right? That sucks. That's a shitty sort of way to approach things. So you expect your take profit to get hit. What if it doesn't? You make new arguments, new assessments on lower time frames. Look for signs of warning in the short term that tells you, "Oh shit, maybe you need to adjust." Right? So if we lose these hourly 200s, that might tell you, "Oh shit, if my take profit either here or here or here or here doesn't get hit, maybe I should take that profit now instead." Because I'm showing a sign of weakness that the past two times we showed this sign of weakness, right? The past couple times we show this sign of weakness, we at the very least see a test of our higher time frame trend. So maybe we get another test of our high time frame trend at the very least. And then, oh, that high time frame trend gets tested. Great. That's the ideal re-entry zone. Oh, that high time frame test gets tested and it doesn't hold. Okay, that's my true invalidation. I probably don't want to own Dusk anymore. Cancel this TP, cancel the TP above it, cancel every TP that you had, and maybe at that point you just want to capitulate. And you can justify doing so because the same trend that you've been riding for all of this price action upwards is no longer relevant, right? It's not on your side anymore. So, hey, maybe bears are smart this time around. Maybe that guard dog actually tried to warn you of something relevant this time after barking at the wind for the past 3 months or whatever, right? So, that's the way that I would play this. And then, truthfully, are the hourly 200s relevant locally? Not really, right? We reclaim them. This reclaim and their momentum shifting does tell you, hey, this downtrend is probably over, and that test of your higher time frame trend has taken priority once again. You're probably going to see higher high, higher low, higher high, right? So they warned us, yeah, we had to reclaim them if we're ever going to see a bigger relief bounce or a higher high or whatever. They told you, hey, this time is different. The downtrend is probably over, right? The pullback is probably over. But have they been relevant since then? No, they haven't. They haven't been tested. So what is relevant at the moment? You can say maybe the 15-minute 200s. And truthfully, they're decently relevant locally as well, right? So then we take a look at the 15-minute 200s. Seems pretty solid. If we can still maintain them and maintain their slope, looks pretty good. If we continue expanding away, starts to look like a warning sign for the very low time frame into hourly 200s. Maybe they give us another reaction again. Maybe it doesn't really mean anything. Maybe those break. 4 hour 200 or not 4 hour 50 daily moving averages. I'm just so used to saying 4 hour 200s. And then who knows, maybe those break, right? So adjust, get the fuck out, right? In the meantime, just continue assuming that the trend is still the trend. So, I mean, that's the Dusk USDT analysis, but that is the mentality that applies to anything and everything that is in price discovery. It's the mentality, right? It doesn't necessarily mean you have to approach with the same fib targets that I do, or fibs at all, or 15-minute 200s, or hourly 200s, or 4-hour 200s. It doesn't mean any of that. But it's the mindset that is the base foundation to that technical analysis approach that matters. And that's the thing that keeps you profitable rather than the TA. I hope that is the takeaway more than anything. So when I spend 15 minutes talking about Dusk and only one person in here cares about the Dusk USDT analysis, I want you guys to know that there's still value in that. So with that said, is there anything else that you guys want from me? No? Nobody has anything? Questions even? We can talk about narratives. You can tell me how your day's going. All right. Well, if nobody has anything, then I'm just going to assume that everybody had an amazing weekend. Everyone's very comfortable, knows where they're at, and doesn't really need to see any altcoins or questions or comments or anything like that. So we'll just go ahead and get out of here. As always, thank you guys so much. I very much appreciate all of your time. Thank you. It means a lot. I hope you're getting value from these streams. I hope that you are comfortable with the market, the entire environment, with Bitcoin, with the approach, the mentality. I hope this stuff's starting to click and is becoming second nature at this point, to the point where everything I'm saying sounds redundant. Once you get there, once everything that I'm saying sounds redundant, that's when it's clicking, right? That's when it starts to become second nature, and the time that you're putting into watching these streams is paying off. So if that's you, congratulations. I have nothing but the utmost respect for you for putting in the time and effort. So thank you guys, as always, very much appreciated. Xcode, you're just now joining, but we're just now leaving. So much love, everybody, and I will see you again on Wednesday. Take care.
I'm just realizing that. Slightly embarrassed.
No worries, man. Recording will be up in like
I
30
missed the
minutes.
first announcement. Oh, perfect. I'll go watch
All
it then.
good.